The conversation of women and the way they're presented in media is going to be an ongoing conversation, but it seems it's also trickling down to teenagers and even younger girls. With the rise and exposure of social media influencing young girls on the way that they should dress and present themselves, a lot of people, specifically women, are concerned with the message it can portray. Young girls are donning full faces of heavy makeup, obsessing over skincare, and dressing like mini adults, with outfits sometimes being pretty provocative. Some women, including myself, have actually seen changes in little girls' clothing, in the way that these clothing are made to fit small on them in certain places, or with designs and fits that seem like it's a bit for older women. And naturally, this brings up a lot of debate and conflict in women saying that they should just wear what they want, and other women arguing that it could possibly put women, especially young girls, in danger. So today, as per usual, I will be looking at the psychological of the situation. But whenever we do talk about little girls and the way that they dress and present themselves, there is a very common topic that comes up when speaking about this, and it's about child beauty pageants. First of all, let's be real here. Who's taking their child to beauty pageants anymore? When's the last time you heard of a mom bringing her little girl to a beauty pageant? We don't need beauty pageants anymore, but it still is relevant to the conversation, especially because child beauty pageants did help with the rise of children being so obsessed with their appearance. So let's go ahead and start there for this conversation of beauty pageants, classical conditioning, and validation.
Are you beautiful?
Yes, I am beautiful. And you told me, you said if I was beautiful, and I'm always beautiful.
From putting fake boobs and a butt on a 6-year-old to putting Botox on an 8-year-old, these parents, most of the time mothers, are very determined to win these beauty pageants. And many people ask, why would a mother want to put her daughter through something like this? I think of a few reasons. Money, attention, money. Actually, you want to know something? When I was doing research for this, it didn't seem like you win a lot for taking your child to a beauty pageant. If anything, you have to spend a lot of money in order to try to win. But I'm sure there are things like medals and trophies and other prizes you can win for winning a beauty pageant. And it's just a good feeling of having bragging rights that your child won a most beautiful competition. But there are plenty of other reasons as well. Other reasons were actually uncovered by an interesting study that was done by a Harvard student in the 2000s. A student named Hillary Levy, who attended Harvard, was given some money by the Harvard Research Program to study beauty pageants and to interview the parents who took them there. So she went around asking parents, why do you enroll your child into these beauty pageants? What is there to gain? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to them? And of course, she got plenty of different answers from different parents, but a lot of the answers seem to boil down something of confidence. It gives them confidence and teaches them to learn how to deal with competition, so they can learn certain skills to move up the hierarchy of life. There was one mother that Hillary interviewed, and she said this: I want my child to be aware that there's always going to be somebody better than her. It's a hard thing to learn. It was for me, and I want her to start early. I found the answers of the parents, and specifically this statement, to be very interesting. To say that you want to teach your daughter to deal with competition, I completely understand that. However, I could probably understand it better for things like, I don't know, becoming a surgeon. Like, you have to sharpen your skills to be really steady with your hands in order to obtain a job like that. Or with something like plumbing, where you'd have to be pretty good at plumbing so that people will want to choose you over their other competitors. And also so you obviously don't get sucked down the drain and enter the mushroom kingdom, because we all know that's where those pipes lead, obviously. But you get what I'm saying. Sharpening your skills for those types of things makes sense, because those are jobs of objectivity. Jobs of plumbers is how well and how quickly can you fix my faucet. For a surgeon, how well and how quickly can you strategically rip my heart out and put another one back in so I don't die. These things rely on your personal skills in order to get the job done. But beauty pageants are a little different, because of course, for the most part, beauty is subjective, and implying that there's a competition between your daughter and 6-year-old Sally over there, who looks way better than you, is going to win the shiny medal, is bound to mess with little girls' heads, because it kind of contradicts the sole purpose of why these parents wanted to put them into the pageant in the first place. Confidence. They can't build confidence if they got 3rd place on how beautiful they are. If they're constantly being compared to the other girls and boys in the pageant, they can't build confidence. There are young boys who do the pageants too, by the way. I don't think I've said that already. There are little boys, it's just a lot less. It's normally mothers and their daughters. And even for the young girls who do win the pageant, who get 1st place, can you really call that confidence? Because let's just be real here, the main reason why that child feels good in the first place is because they get validation from all the adults in that room. Now, before we go any further, I want to address the stigma and misunderstandings of validation. We hear the term being thrown around a lot, especially when we talk about things like the male gaze. And I just want to clarify something. Just for the record, There is nothing inherently wrong with wanting validation. It is a natural human thing that we enjoy. We like being complimented. That is a form of validation. We like having people agree with our opinions. That is a form of validation. We like subscriptions and likes and views on our YouTube videos and our Instagram posts. That is validation. It's the reason why we have a tendency to surround ourselves with people who are like us in a way. The same race, the same gender, the same religious practice, the same age, the same grade, even the same major. So don't feel like you're committing some type of a crime because you enjoy feeling seen and validated by other people. And yes, that's even if that validation comes from men. That's fine. If you're going on a date with a guy and there's this perfume that you love to wear, you think it smells great on you, and you hope that your date thinks it smells good on you too. And he does think it smells good on you. He compliments you when you get there. You feel good. That is validation. So you're probably going to want to wear it more because both you and he loves it. Perfectly fine. Or if you spend so much time planning your outfit, color coordinating, right, and you think you look great and you go outside and somebody compliments your outfit and be like, yeah, that's a cool outfit, you feel validated because both you and that person both think your outfit is cool. The thing is, as long as you're doing what you want and you feel good in what you want, you've already validated yourself. So all the other outside validation is just extra. You don't need somebody to compliment you to think you look pretty in your outfit today, but if somebody does, you're not complaining. You feel secure in yourself and your own decisions already. But it can become dangerous if the only form of validation you get is from other people. Like the compliments that you get on your outfits, that's the only reason why you dress like that. You hate wearing that. Either you hate wearing dresses, or maybe you hate wearing baggy pants, but you always get complimented on those clothings, and that's the only reason why you wear it. Or if you hate the way this perfume smells on you, but your date might think it smells good on you, so you only wear it for that specific reason. Validation that comes solely from an outside source can become dangerous. Because you've heard the saying, if you try to please everyone, you please no one, right? When you only do things for other people's validation, regardless if you actually like it or not, it leaves you never being truly satisfied with yourself or your decisions. Because at the end of the day, they really aren't your decisions. Who you are as a person will only ever be reflected in the eyes of someone else, which is particularly relevant when we're speaking about children.
Who is that in that picture?
Me.
You look very different.
Because I'm blitzed.
You're glitzed. Do you like being glitzed?
Yes.
Mahaley's mum, Cherie, loves the pageant world. She insists her daughter loves it too. Cherie says it gives Mahaley confidence.
I'm a perfectionist. I have to have it right. Don't talk. Okay, now let me see. Oh, now we're talking, Pop.
In the very early stages of a child's development, the need for approval by an authority figure is really big. In the very beginning, they need to learn social norms and etiquette. Their parents or caretakers are there to teach them right from wrong, and does this with classical conditioning. If you've taken any intro to psych class, you know what I'm talking about, but it's simply reinforcing good behaviors, giving a reward or whatever, shunning and punishing the bad ones, so therefore you validate the behaviors that you want. So the child very heavily relies on the parents in the beginning to formulate their thoughts and opinions. So the young girls at the pageant, sure, they may feel confident because they won, but it's mainly because their parents are telling them how good of a job they're doing wearing fake boobs and full faces of makeup, and also standing in front of an entire panel of adults who they need to get validation from in order to be first place. They're mostly doing what their parents ask them to do, and that's what gives them confidence. Because if the child gives the parents a hard time because they don't want to wear these itchy sparkly pants or something like that, the parents get mad because they're not cooperating, then making the child feel bad. But when they do cooperate, they get good jobs and oh, you look so pretty, and then they get first place prizes. So beauty pageants, in my opinion, actually showcase a very great example of how it can be dangerous to have a child present themselves in a certain manner, especially when they only do it for the sake and validation of other people. Because a lot of times these kids don't want to go through what they go through. Like the girl who ended up getting Botox in her face, she expressed how she didn't like it because yeah, getting a needle to the face hurts. But she did it because she wants to be pretty and she wants to win first place for her mom. So that's always a great conversation to have. But what about the young girls who enjoy putting on full faces of makeup and strutting down the catwalk? What about the young girls who do actually enjoy dressing in that manner? In the Harvard students' interview with the parents, many of them also said that they wanted their young girls to express themselves and to feel beautiful in their natural bodies. And with so many toxic beauty standards, it is nice to let a little girl know that she's beautiful regardless of, what body she fits in. The thing is, regardless of how much you try to tell these little girls how beautiful they are in their bodies and how they don't need to listen to what anybody else says and how they need to love themselves and their bodies no matter what, this may actually be working against them. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do something, right? Very simple. I'm going to ask you a very simple request and I want you to do it. Don't think of a pink elephant. Okay, so obviously you're thinking of a pink elephant now, right? So you've probably heard of this little mind game that people try to play on you. In psychology, this is referred to thought suppression, or many people like to call it the pink elephant paradox. There are other names for it as well, but the gist of it is, if you try to tell yourself in your mind to not think about something, or you put an emphasis on not to do something, it is going to stubbornly creep in your mind anyway. And what makes it so effective is the fact that you are putting an emphasis on something that originally had no value. It's something that you weren't even thinking about, but because somebody said something, now it's there and now you can't get rid of it. It's the reason why you don't tell somebody, hey, don't look down when you're, I don't know, climbing like hundreds of feet in the air on a mountain. If you just don't mention it, it really doesn't become an issue in the first place. Your brain doesn't have to work overtime trying to stop thinking about something because you've never addressed it in the first place. Now we can take this concept and apply it to women the way that they dress in their bodies. So today we very heavily try to tell young girls and women that they should be proud of their bodies, they should feel good in their body. No matter what anybody else says, they need to feel comfortable and beautiful in themselves. Don't worry about what other people say. Don't worry about all the billboards and the magazines that have women who don't look like you but are clearly there modeling and successful with money and fame and everything. Don't think about that though. It's okay that you don't look like them. Don't think about all the celebrities who basically all look the same and have these very thin bodies and large breasts and butts, but don't worry about that. No, don't think about that. It's okay. Your body's still beautiful. It does tend to be a little bit counterintuitive, and this does go a little bit into the body positivity movement, which I have nothing against. I do want to say I have my opinions on it, which I'm going to express now, but I don't want to seem like I'm completely shunning the entire thing. I understand it's with the best intentions, and I think it does have some good for it, but I do wonder if trying to very aggressively push these positive ideals onto people and women, I wonder if that's the best way to go about it. I understand the intent and the idea of trying to say that all bodies are beautiful no matter what, but when you really get down to it, what are you actually saying? If absolutely all bodies are and have to be beautiful, that means if anybody wasn't beautiful, subjectively, whatever that may look like to a person, that means it doesn't deserve to be valued. The implication that all bodies have to be beautiful means that beauty is a very important aspect of a woman's or just a person's body. And I know I am talking a lot about women because that's kind of the point of the video, but I would like to also talk about the men's aspect of it. I'll do that in a separate video, obviously, but I don't, if they want to think that I'm leaving all the guys out, I think it's really interesting how men don't actually seem to have a body positivity movement. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, so we'll get to that in another video. But the saying all bodies are beautiful and the idea that all bodies are beautiful are implying that it has to be beautiful to be valued. Your body shouldn't have to be beautiful for it to be important, to be loved and cared for. It shouldn't have to be beautiful for it to get the food and water and nutrients that it needs, to be recognized as something important. Because the truth of the matter is, some girls are not going to like certain things about their bodies. And that's okay. Some girls are going to recognize that there are simply a few things about them that they may not like that much. That's natural. I don't like my long, lanky arms. Like, you can't see, but I have freakishly long arms and just ligaments in general. I don't know why I'm like double jointed and everything. Sometimes I think I look like Slender Man. That's okay. I don't like try to tell myself like, no, your arms are beautiful. Like, I just kind of accept the fact that I don't like my long arms. Another thing is I don't like my big old forehead. That's the reason why I'm always wearing bangs, by the way, because my forehead is not a forehead, it's a 6 head. But I can just acknowledge that, like I can just recognize I don't like it. I cover it up with bangs and I go about my day. I don't have to force myself to like it. I can just accept the fact that it exists. Because for me to sit here and say, your long, lanky, slender man arms are beautiful and you're going to like them, that would just be me lying to myself. The thing about loving yourself and accepting yourself in this entire movement that sometimes I think people forget is that acknowledging certain things that you dislike, acknowledging the negative, is a part of that acceptance and love. Things aren't always going to be great. Things aren't always going to be positive. This is coming from somebody who sees the world through the eyes of a realist, so maybe I'm just biased, but I just don't think forcing yourself to affirm certain things about your beliefs of yourself is the best way to go about it. Because again, all you're doing is putting this heavy emphasis on it. And no matter what you tell yourself now, you're constantly going to be obsessed with it. You want to know a perfect example of this in real life? Hip dips, or really just any bodily insecurity on TikTok.
Okay, am I like Olive Garden pretty or like Waffle House pretty. Girl, go see if they're hiring. Your deep set eyes are kind of giving like hunter pretty. But the flare of your nostrils low-key like giving like deer pretty. Am I color maxed? Just think for yourself. What is that? Like have your own opinion. What's own opinion? Oh my god, no. Freaking deer pretty. I'm not deer pretty. I'm fox pretty.
Hip dips were the biggest craze a few years ago, right? And it's literally just a bone structure of the hips, specifically of women's hips. Our hips tend to be wider and it creates this dip where the bone is and our flesh and all that other stuff. I'm not that good at anatomy, search it up. And so we tend to have a dip in that lower side of our hips. No one really even knew or cared about what those were until it started trending on TikTok. Same thing with legging legs or the thigh gap. I think they're both kind of the same thing. Nobody cared about this stuff until people started talking about it. And it's a bit of a running joke on TikTok where they'll be like, oh, what's the new insecurity that everyone's screaming about today? People are hyper aware of the fact that TikTok is just giving them these nonsensical insecurities that they never cared about before, but they still can't stop themselves from being obsessed about it. Because guess what? You've already mentioned the pink elephant. You've already said something about it. You've already given something value that never had an inherent value to begin with. They still can't help but look at their hips in the mirror and either love them or hate them, depending on what's the trend. So now there's movements where it's like, no, you have to love your hip dips. But it's like, essentially, what's there to love about them? It's the bone structure. It's there and it does its job. Now we have to affirm ourselves about legging legs and hip dips, things we didn't even care about like a few years ago. Your value as a person doesn't come from your body. Whether you like your hip dips or not doesn't make you any less of a person deserving care. But when we give unnecessary value to certain things, we deem it as more important and something that we need to give attention to when we really don't. That's why, in my opinion, in order to help women and young girls to not have these body issues or to not be obsessed with their bodies, I think we just need to stop talking about them. Don't mention the pink elephant at all, because then you don't put any unnecessary value and emphasis on their bodies. The most you should be talking about their bodies for is their health. Are they eating right? Are they getting their exercise in? Are they where they need to be physically? Again, I get the idea that you want to let kids express themselves at a young age, but as I mentioned before, kids have a really frequent tendency to do what everyone else thinks they want them to do. So if their parents are hyping them up because they're posting pictures of them dressed like a mini adult on the internet and it's getting a bunch of likes, a bunch of views, and everyone's commenting and loving it, of course they're gonna like dressing in that manner. But they don't fully understand what encompasses presenting themselves in that manner, especially at such a young age. The attention it may bring, good or bad, how to react to that type of attention, how people may perceive them because of it, how things like that are going to affect your digital footprint in the future. That's a big one. So when you dress them like 20-year-olds, you give them the social and internal responsibility that a 20-year-old has, but they don't operate the same. They can't fully comprehend what they're consenting to.
Congratulations.
You're gonna get a teddy bear, Lee.
I'm not gonna get
Tina, come on, say.
Forget about it.
Maybe not, but you're gonna get a teddy bear.
Forget about it. Forget about it. I'm not gonna win.
Mia!
And now look, I can already hear what some of you are going to say, that it simply doesn't matter what we do. If you're a girl that lives in this society who is constantly objectifying them and telling them how they should look, they're going to have body image issues. It's simply inevitable, and they're going to be obsessed with the way that they look. And to that I say, that is not entirely true, because I didn't grow up, nor do I have body image issues. Now, this isn't me trying to be like, I'm a special snowflake, everyone look at me, nor is it me trying to brag, because it's not really something to even brag about, but I'm simply being honest with myself and matter of fact on how that statement doesn't make any sense if I exist. Me acknowledging this is to say that something happened along the way in the process of my growth and development that caused me not to have these issues. So it is possible for a young girl not to have them. Now, when I say I don't have body image issues, naturally I'm vain. We all are, right? We try to make ourselves look presentable. I mean, here I am fully clothed. Well, I just came back from school, but even so, like, this is what I'm wearing to school right now. I got like a whole get up going on just to sit in a classroom and listen to a professor talk about iTech. Of course, I still care about the way that I look, the way that I present myself, and I always want to make myself look pretty in my eyes. But never once in my life did I restrict my eating because I was afraid that I looked too big, or overeat because I had issues with food. There was never really a time where I sat in the mirror looking at myself and thought that my chest was too flat or my butt was too flat. I put on the clothes that I want to wear, regardless if it makes my waist look like an hourglass or my boobs look any bigger. I eat the foods that I want until I'm filled, and I don't have a huge obsession with changing certain parts of my body because I'm afraid how other people think it looks. The reason for this, simply put, is because I grew up with strict parents who did not allow me to have social media. We were also homeschooled and they didn't really take us outside to do other extracurriculars, so we were basically inside all the time. In other words, I didn't have any outside influences to tell me how I should look or the way that I look. And my mother never put any emphasis on the way that I look in my body. She gave us clothes that were appropriate for our ages, so it's not something I was constantly thinking about. I didn't have any friends in high school who I was around who I was comparing myself to, saying, oh wow, look at Shelby's butt, hers is so much bigger than mine. I wasn't on Instagram all day swiping through a bunch of women with BBLs. So because of that, it ended up being something that didn't really matter to me. Now, of course, I'm not saying the solution to this problem is to have your teenage girl not use social media at all. I don't have body image issues, but that doesn't mean I don't have other issues as a result of the way that I was raised. A lot of those issues which I'm trying to work out myself now. But again, like, the point of me bringing this up is clearly something happened in the early stages of development from tween to teenager that allowed me not to care too much or obsess too much over my appearance, to the point where it's dangerous, like stopping myself from eating or overeating or something like that. And it shows that those early years are very important to development, because by the time I was like 16, 17, 18, I eventually started using some social medias. I went back to public school when I was 17. I kind of started getting back into that social circle. So outside influences could have absolutely affected the way that I view my body. But that didn't happen. Years later, and I'm still fine. I still eat until I'm filled. I still take care of myself, and I'm still not hyper obsessed and fixated on my body. So no, it isn't a canon event like people try to make it seem. Like, it's inevitable. We live in a society that, treats women this way, so we're all going to end up like this. That's not true. And I'm sure that I'm not the only girl who doesn't have body image issues. Something happened along the way for that not to happen. And I truly believe it's because I had no one around me to put this unnecessary emphasis on my body, especially when these girls are so young, because that's already setting the stage for how they view themselves and value themselves when it comes to their bodies. This is what a lot of women are starting to realize and speak up against, which is really nice to see. A lot of female YouTubers who I watch are starting to speak up on how it is dangerous putting so much value on young girls' bodies. Women feel like they constantly have to put all of their focus and value on their physical appearance rather than other practical skills that they have, like their intelligence, their personalities, their social skills, and just all of their skills that they have. But nobody cares about all that, because time and time again, young girls are constantly being shown and proven to that your body can get you really far in life. When you're old enough, that's perfectly fine. You can express yourself however you please, dress the way that you want, do what you want with your body. It's fine. You're an adult. You can do that. But for younger girls, I feel like we should be letting them cultivate their practical skills and abilities first. Let them recognize what they can do without having to use their looks and their bodies to achieve it. Then as they get older, they learn more, they explore more, when they truly understand how they want to present themselves to the world and what that means to them. That's when I think it is perfectly fine for them to dress how they see fit. But at a very young age, when they're not done developing yet and they have this more simplistic view of the world, let them put their value somewhere else. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, when we die, all of that work and obsession that you put into your body, it's going to decompose anyway. It's going to turn into a mushy, stinky, disgusting clump of flesh that'll start leaking various fluids, and flies and maggots are going to infest anyway. Sorry, nasty, but it's true. And when that happens, no one's really going to be talking too much about your appearance. I mean, sure, they might mention it a few times, but ultimately it's what you've done as a person is what they're going to remember. So that's all I want to talk about today. Figured this would be a pretty cool first video for the new year. Happy New Year, everyone, by the way. Remember to take care of yourselves this year. Remember to eat something. Remember to get your exercise in. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.